本节目由独家出行合作伙伴腾势汽车赞助播出。
This mood board reflects a little bit my brain, my vision. There are many images that, in a certain way, they play a role in my creative flow. That's why I prefer to have every day in front of my eyes, because they can be, at a certain moment, you say, oh, this chain maybe can be useful for this specific design. So here you can see some chain from our archive, like 1967, because I remind you, Pomellato was born in 1967.
Right.
So it's a quite young brand of jewelry because we are almost, over 50, let's say.
50 years old. That's still a long time now.
And the first part of the story of Pomellato is started with a goldsmith tradition, Milanese goldsmith tradition.
So the craftsmanship.
The craftsmanship of chains. For Pomellato, chain is always been at the center of the stage. So for us, let's say we are a bit obsessed in making change.
Right.
So we explored, and we are still exploring in the present, different way, different design, because, making change requires a very high level of craftsmanship.
Sure.
And then when you handle this high level of craftsmanship, you are able to, to change the paradigm and you find different expression of the chain. So for us, chain is like to play the piano for a jazz man.
I get it. Yeah.
Pomellato jewels is always sensual, feminine, and when you touch the volume, you can perceive the human, factor.
That's very important to me, I think, is humanity.
It's fundamental for us. So that's why you never find in our jewels, reedy geometries or a kind of, mechanic feel.
Right. Industrial feel.
Industrial.
So like, for example, this one where the edges are smooth.
Yeah,
It feels...
even the set of the stone is very integrated in the shape of the rings. So that's really important for us.
It's almost like a piece of candy, in some way. Right.
Yeah, that's true. And even this, flair of evocative in terms of candy, of flowers, it's important because color for us is a kind of, element that can evoke in you emotion. So it's not something that we use like in a decorative way, like you saw, put together some different color just for creating a good balance of color, but create something that color can make magic, it can evoke in you emotion. Maybe you have been in Capri, for example, you have seen in the Grotta Azzurra, you enjoy this travel, and maybe in some reflection of the stones, you can retrieve, you can grasp again this kind of emotion.
Yeah, that's interesting because in architecture, we try to design spaces that make people feel.
Yeah.
People feel something, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And it can be a religious experience, it can be a Zen experience, it can be all these different types of things. So it's interesting to see that, in jewelry, that you're evoking the same type of thing. You're evoking emotions and memory and all those kind of things.
In creativity, you have to play with your true imagination, but even with your references that can create something totally new. But in a certain way, you have to, creating people a kind of emotion that can recognize what you have had in mind.
Sure.
So that's a process that sometimes requires different, path.
Sure.
There is not just one process for creativity, because in creativity you can approach the flow from different angles. So creativity is really not very disciplined. So
It can come from anywhere.
Yeah, it's a dirty process, but this is the beautiful. When you can find something in this, empiric, but yet emotional, instinctive process. After 15 years in fashion, as a fashion designer.
So how did being a fashion designer inform you to become a jewelry designer? Is it similar or is it very different?
I wouldn't say that is different, because a creative person have to handle a kind of mindset that can be flexible. You have to change constantly position when you approach the creative flow. So you have not to be rigid. And fashion is a very good coach, because fashion obliges you to change position every day. I would say every day.
And then the pace is very fast.
Yeah, and change your mindset. Piece in fashion is different in jewelry that has to to be forever.
So these are inspirations.
This is a kind of of family picture.
This one seems very complicated.
Yeah, it was a eye jewelry interpretation of our nudo icon ring.
Oh, right.
And in this particular version, we did something really extraordinary, because we recreate the shape of nudo thanks to different gems. Because in nudo, there is one gem, totally free.
Right.
And in this interpretation, you have this composition of different stones that they recreate the perfect shape of nudo. So it's a kind of exercise, creative exercise, because it's not possible with really high level of precious stones to find the same cut of nudo, because nudo is our own cut. That's why we create a kind of imitation, let's say, with
the modern version,
traditional cuts, precious stones. So.
Interesting.
By the way, I started my artistic study as an architect.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's why sometimes I have this kind of very rational approach, very geometric. But Pomellato teach me to be more
loose.
More flexible, more sensual, which is a part that I really love and I really, admire of Pomellato, this kind of femininity that is always present in every single details of our jewels. And we have 3 different sizes of chain, the bold one, the medium, the small, and it's very rock and roll, because it's contemporary, but at the same time requires a very high level of craftsmanship, because in this Pomellato, I think is the best. We are really proud to be the master in chain makers.
how does technology now inform the jewelry making? So you have a very traditional handcrafted process, right? But then technology also can help you.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And I would say that tradition and technologies has to be partner in crime.
Right, like melded together, right?
Yeah, exactly. You have to work together because the really first steps we used to handle by our atelier because we want to keep this human touch, and this is fundamental.
Sure,
it has to be made by hand. Then in a second moment we can even integrate some process in 3D that can make an acceleration because it will become more faster.
Right. And more you can visually see.
So I would say that they work together in perfect harmony. There is no competition because the tradition has a very important, a relevant culture value. And the technology is about innovation, is about, precision as well. So I would say that we have to find all the time the perfect balance.
The balance between the two. How did the relationship between you guys and Stefano begin on this building especially?
Here is that there is no units equal to another one.
So there's no replication?
No replication.
Everyone is unique.
Maybe they are similar in some cases, but at every floor you have different position and dimension of the terraces. And also because of the trees, the terraces, they have the pot where you put all the trees that have different dimension based on the kind of trees. So this was tricky because we had, of course, to put every time the living area or the kitchen area facing the terraces. So every unit is
slightly different.
It's a beautiful thing at the end. You cannot find an apartment that will be the same as the other one.
Yeah, because in most modern buildings, you see it's just a carbon copy.
All the floors are the same. Here, there is no apartment that are similar. So the face that you can have on the living area on this apartment will be totally different from the other one and the other floors. This is the unique place that we have in Milan that has something like that.
So let's talk about this unit. It's a beautiful integration of what the nature and bringing the nature in, but then I see the use of very organic feeling materials. Everything in here I want to touch, I want to feel it. The walls, I want to feel it. Like, what was the concept? How did you integrate Stefano's idea of a vertical force into the interior?
Start everything from the materials and the inspiration that normally we use when we approach the project. We love what's happening in Milan in the early 1920, 30 with the big architects that we have here in Milan, Portalupi, Cacciadominioni, and all these kind of big names, Ponti. And we try to bring the materials that they are used to have in the places in the interior design and to give new life and new energy of this material and to create an environment that can be interesting for our projects. And for that reason, we love to have this kind of organic approach on the project at the end.
Yeah, these objects have soul to them,
Yeah.
right? So when you look at it, you touch it, you feel that uniqueness to it.
Yeah.
Whereas something that is manufactured from a factory or imported from somewhere else, it doesn't have that feeling. And I think it's really important, especially in a country like Italy, where you have, from Renaissance to
That's
now, this legacy of craftsmanship and artisanship, right? And how do you adapt that into the modern era when people are going away from that? Like originally the ideas of Bauhaus and using kind of industrial things into architecture and getting away from traditional craftsmanship was an interesting idea. But then now we've gotten to the point where we've forgotten, especially in America now, like people have lost that craftsmanship, lost the artisanship. And it's beautiful to see in a place like this where it's modern, it's everything new, but then there's a connection to the history, to the culture.
This is really
to the
important
country.
for us.
Do you guys have a philosophy about your design for the future and how you want to influence other people?
Technically, what we are really realizing in these years is to give back the quality of the design at the end of the day, in terms of materials, in terms of skill of the handcraft that we are using in our objects. We don't want to create products at the end of the day, but we would like to create a single object that you have to use for your needs. This is the difference. I don't like the idea to have objects like chairs or whatever that you can sell all over the world for billion pieces and you throw it away at the end. This is the same things for the architecture, I think. So it means we need to think architecture that has the humanity behind it, as you say, that we need to maintain to understand that we need to not to sprecare, we said we need to throw it away.
Yeah, because society now, especially with globalization, is a very strong push towards a disposable culture, right? Everything you use 1 year, 2 years, and you throw it away, right? But we need to get back to something where it's sustainable for the future, but also monumental and also can last. And it's timeless. And I think your design here is amazingly timeless. So
keeping the back from the future, connecting the history and the vision.
Yes.
It's important to give the timeless to the things.
Yes.
And object and space.
The idea of sustainability in architecture has been around for a little while now, but I think you've taken it to another level. Before it was about reducing a carbon footprint, but now you're creating a building that's a living building that can contribute to the city, but also to the residents that it lives in. So how did you what was your inspiration for the idea of a vertical forest?
Oh, you are right. I think that basically for a long period, we were trying to reduce the impact.
Yes.
An impact of nature. And that was, absolutely an important step. So what we have done with solar panels, what we have done with geothermal plants, wind turbines, was super important.
Yes.
But we are working in that way, reducing the impact. But what we cannot do is to absorb the CO2 that we have already produced.
Right.
And the unique tool we have at the moment to do that are trees, are plants. This is one of the reasons we were working since 20 years on that. So trying to bring back nature, living nature to architecture, to city. And this, let's say, special habitat which is used as a species, which are city, which are it's a mineral environment, and we have to do our best to bring back. Imagine that basically we have 21,000 plants
in this building,
21,000 towers
wow.
of a park. And that's basically, in these numbers, in this comparison, there are probably the main reason of these two buildings. So it's an ecosystem that's put together and combines it's a cohabitation of humans, birds, and plants.
Right.
But at the same time, it's concentrating in a surface of, 1,500 square meters. It's equivalent of 5 hectares of a real park.
Right.
In terms of number of plants.
So obviously the engineering has to predict how big these trees will get, how heavy they will be, right?
Yeah. So in a certain way, when you do with living nature, there is always something of unpredictable or not totally predictable.
Right.
But in this case, we have studied very seriously how, from the structural point of view, to have this headness at the perimeter of the balconies. This is also related to the composition, the chemical composition of the soil, because it has to be not too much light, otherwise the roots could move.
That's true, right?
At the same time, not too much heavy, otherwise the structure could suffer. So we have found a balance and equilibrium that we are repeating in every building, in every replicas of the vertical forest, considering the fact that what we do with plants is always conditioned by the climate condition of that specific place. So we start considering climate condition first, then we select the plant, and third, we design the facade. So it's super interesting how we work with architecture as a kind of third steps. First step is about nature.
And I love, looking at the building from the outside, you can see that nature has taken its own organic form in the building. And the form of the building changes through seasons and time. As the building gets older, as the seasons change, it's kind of amazing to see this living thing growing like this.
But there is also another point which is more psychological, and it is that in that way we are transmitting to the tenants a sense of respect for all what is nature.
Yeah.
Nature is a kind of common good for everybody in these two buildings. And it's so interesting how the people are talking, how kids are talking about a bird that has nested in a certain trees and how it works with the branch that are invading another balcony. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like living in a forest. If you have a cabin, kids growing up in nature have a different view of life than kids growing up in a city. But when you combine it in this situation that you can live in an urban environment, but have all those organic aspects of nature that remind you of humanity, being a human, right? Being connected to the earth with nature, animals, and humanity. I think that's a really lovely, lovely idea.
And when you are here and you see the skyline, the city filtered by the leaves and the branch, that's, in my opinion, the DNA of the filtering the skyline with the leaves.
Yes. This leads me to a question about China, and you're very familiar with China now. Obviously, China has developed very quickly over the past 10, 20 years. I don't feel like a lot of people understand sustainability in China, or maybe understand the importance of it. I think the last few years, because of pollution and all those things, people are starting to be aware. What do you think can happen for China in terms of its development, urban planning, that can help create more sustainable environments for people to live?
Well, China has changed a lot in the last years, also from that point of view. If I simply think to mobility and private mobility, so electric cars are everywhere.
Yeah, high-speed rail.
Just to the noise, the sound that you have walking in Shanghai or in Beijing has changed drastically.
Yes, and the adoption of electric vehicles also reduced the pollution a lot.
That's why I say that things are changing. For sure, if we talk about forestry, urban forestry, and basically green, things are going a little bit slowly. But I think it's a very important moment. We are finishing let's say, tall tower to high-rise building in Nanjing to vertical floor. I think this in May, April will be finished. And we are involved in other projects in China with the same character. So I trust on what will happen in China from a certain point of view, and its capacity to be always dynamic and always very fast in changing things.
Yes.
And that's what makes
adoption.
China unique.
Yes.
Never forget that.
I think that's one of the unique things about China is their ability to adapt to new things very quickly. So I think what needs to happen is guiding in the right direction, because obviously it can go many directions at the speed. And if you go too fast in one direction, you can't go backwards anymore.
I remember 20 years ago that China was changing the scooters. Scooters were becoming electric in not more than 2 months in all Beijing. So that was for me a shock. So I understood that the energy China has is tremendous and super interesting.
Yeah, same thing with the EVs. I was away during COVID for 2 years. I came back and must have been at least 40% adoption rate of electric vehicles, and then brands that came so fast, so quickly.
Absolutely.
You would never see that in the United States. You would never see that in Europe. I don't think anywhere, right?
No, they are already
in the future.
Yeah, in the future.
So yeah, that's why I think it's extra important for people to be mindful of their future, right? Where in terms of urban planning, to be considerate of sustainability, considerate of green architecture, and how to make the environment give back to humanity. I think that's really important. And I hope that buildings like this can influence people all around the world, especially in places like China where it's developing, to really take care and be mindful of the environment.
So yes, I think it's important to take to don't abandon the anthropocentrism as a key for understanding what's happening around us, but at the same time to be capable to put our mind in the mind of the other living species, and to understand that's what will be the future. So this kind of capacity to have a multiple view on the same environment.
Yes. And I think an important part of it is to be open to the investment. There's an investment of energy, time, research, money to do something like this, but the payoff in the future will be tenfold, 20-fold. It's really important. I think a lot of people need to understand that the immediate effect can be expensive, but later on down the line, it will save a lot of things in terms of emotional happiness of the city, happiness of the people living and involved.
What I really love is the fact that you see the leaves of a tree that has its roots to free flower.
Mm-hmm.
And you wake up in the morning with this crazy view.
It's so different. Like I said, I grew up 20 years in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong
without this kind of things. And you feel that drain.
Maybe
the city
Hong Kong
takes
is a unique city where you feel a little bit sadness. So, no, that's changed.
Hong Kong has a lot of energy, but at the same time, the urbanness can take a lot of the energy from you, right? So it's so refreshing to see a building that gives back. Gives back emotionally, gives back sensually. The moment I walked in here, you feel you can take a breath, right? And it's so different than other buildings.
We have tested how the shade of the leaves and the branch are reducing the heat on the facade. And in August, summertime, it reduced 32 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So it's quite really
2 to 3 degrees.
Yeah, because that helps so much. And I'm simply referring to the interior, to not use or to reduce the use of energy for conditioning air.
Right,
So it's also like a lateral effect that can be extremely helpful to reduce the consumption of energy.
And also I see the design of the trees, the choice of trees on the north side is more deciduous trees, right?
Bravo.
And on the south side is more evergreen, right?
Yeah, and the reason is the light.
Yes.
Because in wintertime, the light of the sun is very low. So we need trees that are leaving the sunlight entering the interiors instead on the, for sure.
So you have natural shade on one side.
Natural shade, and in that case, we are reducing so much. It depends so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you for your time. It's very enlightening and gives me hope and heart for the future of architecture.
，在这个意大利，我们就是热爱家庭。我看你是非常热爱你自己的家庭。
对，
我看了，我非常
是个很
看得出来
大的改变。因为我结婚之后呢， 也没有什么大的改变。但是我生了女儿之后呢，就有一个真的家庭的感觉，
完全不一样，
就完全不一样。就是以前你可以说我比较自我一点就很 selfish 对自己的，但是现在我所有的决定都是为了家庭的。
这个也是一个非常西西里标准男人的一个事情。夏天的时候，我们在这个西西里岛的沙滩上一般来说会有这个冰淇淋的车，
对，
然后就是孩子嘛，就是要爸爸妈妈零花钱的，去买一个蛋筒，然后在沙滩上吃。
是不是我南部那边的是柠檬是最有名的？
对，柠檬味道。然后就是这些比较偏酸的，又是就是容易帮你消化的口味。那你喜欢什么口味比较多？
我喜欢草莓，喜欢柠檬，还有巧克力，就比较传统那些。
你喜欢就是意大利人喜欢的口味？你想吃奶酱做的gelato，还是你想雪芭？你想吃雪芭吗？Salve。
我看有什么味道。
Cosa ci consiglia, signora？
Tutto buono。
但是什么都好吃，你想吃什么都可以。我看到有一个西西里岛的开心果，来自我老家的 Bronte。OK， 这开心果我觉得。
开心果是西西里的。
对，这个他写的 Bronte 就是属于西西里岛的。
OK， 那我就试试看这个。
OK，com'è signora? Sono 2 gusti a coppettina。OK。你想要小中大？超大杯，小的OK， 减肥 OK， 保留保持身材 OK。Quindi facciamo 2 coppette signora. Per Daniel facciamo pistacchio， 然后你要不要再加一个稍微
Let's try the peanuts and caramel。Yeah，peanuts
and caramel OK。
花生，
你喜欢奶酱的口味是吧？
对，
这个冰淇淋店。我一进这里面就看起来，就马上就看到细节，就是它这里面是这个是个玻璃墙，然后这个玻璃墙后面就是有它的冰淇淋机器，它就想让你看到它每天都是新鲜做，对，这个很重要。Arrivo signora，io pure pistacchio， 我也爱开心果 pistacchio。
那我想问你，我们中文冰淇淋是 ice cream 也是 gelato 都一样，但是其实 gelato 跟 ice cream
非常不一样，
是不一样。Yes.
Gelato, ok signora, mi dice lei, gelato e ice cream, la differenza tra gelato e ice cream?
Ice cream è quello delle macchinette soft, diciamo.
Ok. 但是说 ice cream 比较像软冰的，像那种。
Regionale mantecato。
他说这个是传统手工的意式冰淇淋，就是用意大利的机器做
所以 gelato 一定是手工做的，
一定是手工做的。然后它的新鲜的原材料都是比如说前一天安排的，前一天准备的。而且你这个口感，其实你吃的时候你感觉得到是不是新鲜的？
对，
从这个口感的马上就入嘴的时候，就这个层次感就非常的强。Signora, scusi che la vado ad aspettare. Io vediamo, facciamo sto Dubai Chocolate, lo proviamo? Grazie signora, quanto le devo?
Carta contante.
Carta, grazie.
7, grazie.
OK.
Sì.
这个是7欧元，差不多是
2个7欧元，
人民币差不多应该算
对50块
，50块钱，50多块钱，对。
但比美国便宜很多，因为美国你吃一个那么小的 gelato 是7块钱、8块钱美金
啊，这真贵，哇 ！OK， 我也尝试一下啊。
觉得怎么样？
非常好吃。可以。
Grazie.
OK, grazie signora. Buona giornata, salve. OK。这个怎么说锁吧，对吧？中文是锁嘛
，love lock，
对，就是每个 couple 都会来到这边，然后就把它一起，
就代表他们的爱情，
代表他们的爱情对。然后他们应该是固定的，每一段时间会来
所以
把它，所以就是
有写日子，
对，写在这边25年，这个是最近的，这个非常那个，就18号的
所以你觉得你是一个，因为我是美国出生的，当然生活了在香港，然后就很多其他的地方的，所以我不觉得我是一个地方的人。现在
是的。
然后以前我妈说，你别管这些，你是一个地球的人。
是，
对，能跟很多不同的人相处，跟很多不同的文化理解，享受，就是好事。
是。那我感觉我自己也是通过语言，首先因为我觉得语言真的是非常的重要，就是你不会说那个就是本地的语言，你会有很多的障碍。
去那个文化的。
语言其实本身是带文化的，就是你每次在讲语言的事情，或者你讲不同的语言啊，在那个语言里面会自带一些逻辑，
对，
就你会有一种逻辑携带着在这个语言里面，
对，
所以你的思考的方式也会完全不一样。
所以等于语言是一个钥匙，
对，
你把那个锁打开了，
没错，
锁打开了就看到理解了这个文化，但是你不能够沟通，就很难进去，很难理解，对吧？
所以其实学中文对我来说，在我的人生当中是一个比较最重要的钥匙，就是打开了新世界，然后让我了解到曾经以为是非常远的地方，但其实
很近，
非常的近。
对。所以为什么我开了那个英文学校，教英文，都是这个原因，希望多一点内地的人学多一点语言，然后去别的国家的时候就可以享受生活。因为我看过很多留学生，中国的留学生在美国读书或是别的地方读书，他们不肯讲，然后他们就一直在跟中国人在一起，所以他们待了几年在一个国家，但完全没有享受或者是没有吸收那个地方的文化。他们
就是锁在这个圈子里面，
对，是因为
没办法突破，
没办法突破了。所以如果语言好一点的话，他们就能够有相处的地方嘛。对，
是的。
So now, like, I guess fashion becoming trending a bit more towards streetwear.
Yes, yeah.
That has merged more into the sports.
Yes.
And you've seen a lot of like collabs or even fashion brands that have launched their let's call it sportswear. Side.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense because like you're saying, streetwear, I've been part of streetwear since it very started, and it had a lot to do with the roots of sports.
Yeah.
Basketball outfits, football, soccer now even.
Yeah.
And so mixing the two makes a lot of sense, obviously. Right. And how do you think that's helped the brand, AC Milan, the brand?
I think, look, in our case, we leverage that we are the club of the city of Milan. And we have our name in Italian is AC Milan, so AC Milan, and it has Milan, the city and the name. And we do leverage that Milan is one of the fashion capitals of the world,
right? Wow.
So these are all our trophies. This is the trophy room. We call this in Italian, we translate it with as the trophy with the big ears.
Okay.
And that is the trophy.
Yes,
that is the Champions League.
The UEFA Cup,
We've won 7 of these and are second most in all of football.
Right.
And so we're very proud of that. So you mentioned the Warriors. Is that where you're based now?
I live in LA, but I'm from San Francisco. So Oakland specifically.
You are from Oakland?
Yeah, so the Warriors, I grew up watching them be terrible for so many years, and then they became amazing right, the past few years, and they've created this dynasty. But that's why I asked all these questions, because the Warriors jerseys didn't sell well for many years. And then when we started winning, now they're probably, Curry's jersey is probably the #1 selling jersey in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a huge part of what makes that team what it is the marketing and all the products behind it.
Funnily, I was born in 79. What year are you?
74.
Okay, so my first memories of the Warriors are actually good ones, because I remember Chris Mullin.
Oh, so Run TMC, the era, yeah.
So,
well, we almost made it, but we didn't quite.
Yeah, and then it was bad, and then it was excellent around now.
Yeah.
My other sport, other than soccer, is American football.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
And that's because I went to American schools as a kid. And
Where did you grow up?
It was actually around you. So it was American schools, but around Europe.
Okay.
And so I was
so the culture,
indoctrinated in American stuff.
Interesting.
And one of them was American football.
So, American football is huge in the U.S. and it's everywhere from Pee Wee Little Leagues all the way through high school and then to college, which is another culture. And then there's NFL, right?
Yeah.
How, as a CEO, you obviously saw that stuff growing up. How did that influence you in terms of, running AC Milan? Like looking at that stuff?
I mean, look, they're very different worlds. So it's in some ways it's hard to have parallels.
Right.
Like we look at American sports in general and American leagues and teams and sort of on the commercial side, because simplifying it, the commercial engines of American teams are often better, more sophisticated than what you have in European
And so you're
football.
saying in terms of marketing and promotion and all that, right?
Now, look, the setup of the sport, how it's conceptualized, how it was originated, is just very different in Europe than America. Just, we have things like when you talk to Americans for the first time about the concept of promotion and relegation, it obviously doesn't exist in America. So, I mean, it's very different.
Right.
But what's happening now for us as for example, stadiums are sort of run much better in America in general than in Europe. And we have a new stadium project. This has taken a long time, but now we're buying our existing stadium from the municipality.
Oh, okay.
We're going to get the rights to build a new stadium right next to it. And so the old one will go, the new one will then be, a state-of-the-art, what we hope will be the best soccer
And that will be
stadium in Europe.
owned by AC Milan, right?
AC Milan and Inter are
right.
rivals.
Right.
And so when we do that project, we look at American stadiums, American teams, what they've been able to do, which is kind of a benchmark.
Right. Yeah, if you notice, like American stadiums, they're very good at the merchandising.
Yes.
Right. Where they put all the merchandising booths and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's always access to that
Yes.
stuff. So when you go to a game, everybody has, their jersey or whatever,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
they didn't bring one, they can get one right there, right?
Absolutely.
So it's a very smart thing, actually. But I think one thing that's similar between the two, even though structurally it's very different, is the passion from children, like young children, all the way through adults. The identity of a team to your personal identity is so important, right?
Yeah.
Like a local 49er fan, you're a 49er fan for life, right? AC Milan fan, you're an AC Milan fan for life, and so it seems interesting to harness that energy,
Absolutely.
right?
The football in Italy and in a lot of European countries is a bit like a religion, let's say.
Yes.
So the affiliation you have to your team since you were a kid is just very important, very strong. It dictates like your group of friends. It dictates your social life in many ways. So it's important to harness it.
Sure.
And in some ways it comes naturally.
Right.
It's passed on, generated. My kids are AC Milan fans. They have no choice, quite frankly, but they're okay with it. And so, yeah, you're right.
Awesome. One last question for you. Are you aware? You're obviously aware of football globally, right? So China has made many strides in sport over the years, but soccer seems to be the one that we just can't get further on with. And what do you think the issue is with Chinese soccer?
Ooh, big question. It would be unfair for me to answer it because I don't have enough information.
Sure.
Quite frankly, what I would say is, given sort of the size of the population, given the passion for the sport, and given the wealth and increasing wealth, at some point it's going to get there.
Yeah.
What is important to really create, let's say, an internal movement and strength, etc., is to really work at the youth level and academy level. And so it has to come from the base, not from signing a bunch of
superstars or ex-superstars, right? Yeah.
There's probably both, because one attracts interest in the sport, but you really need to work at the base. So without really knowing, I would imagine maybe part of the trick is to really work at the academy level.
Right, start young.
Yes.
Start young in development.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what I feel like with European football. That's the best thing about it, is that they start at the very youth level and support youth soccer.
Yes.
And then find the talent through there and eventually farm it through to get the best talent.
But I have no doubt it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it's frustrating for Chinese fans, right? Because we have the amount of people, there's definitely talent, there's definitely the culture, there's definitely the passion, but they're just not winning. And it's like a very frustrating point for Chinese soccer fans, right?
No, I can completely understand it. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree. So the colors, this is the black and the red, the classic is the
Yes, this is home jersey.
home jersey, right?
Yes.
Yellow is the third jersey.
Yes.
White is the away.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, this store changed a lot during the days. So if there is a match day in San Siro, here is fully packed.
Oh, really? Okay.
Thousands of people coming us to visit. And so we have implemented this kind of self-totem where you decide your jersey,
Let's take a look.
you buy. So you can go here, you decide home, away, third. Let's assume you want the away. You go ahead, you choose which kind of style. Let's assume you want the player version. You want a size L. You can
Choose your player.
the player or your name.
Your own name. So
Okay.
you can customize.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
absolutely. Let's assume you want Lukita Modric. You can choose the Serie A
Serie A,
patch,
nice.
the Beat Panda one.
Oh, wow.
Go
You can
to the
customize
cart.
the whole thing. Wow.
Yes. And here, you basically pay.
Yeah.
Go upstairs, pick your jersey, and you go.
So upstairs they print it all out.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
What makes soccer the beautiful sport? As Pele famously said, what do you think football is? Why do you think football is the beautiful sport?
I think because all you need is a ball, man. I think anywhere around the world, it's the easiest thing you can pick up. You can play anywhere, and it's just
it's true.
It's the most beautiful.
Yeah, I've been all over the world in Africa. I see kids playing on a little dirt lot, or kids in New York on the street.